Skippy was a Labrador mix. We had Skippy when I was a young boy, about 4 or 5, I reckon. He was basically a yellow lab, with some sort of other dog thrown in for seasoning and personality, as well as endurance, I am sure. I say that because my dad used to take Skippy for runs on the weekends, or any other time it seemed right. The dog runs were a wonderful family experience. It was about 1950. Gasoline cost 27 cents a gallon, and we had a 1948 Monarch business coupe with a huge trunk. Skippy would jump right into the trunk happily, as far as I can remember, his tail wagging and ready to go, because he knew we were going for a run in the country. After my dad closed the trunk door, with Skippy safely inside, we would all jump in the car. Omimi, our little town with a population of 750, was on Highway 7 between Lindsay and Peterborough in the province of Ontario in the vast country of Canada, and the open and wild countryside was only about 3 miles away. We would ride out there together, past the dump, along the swamp, and across the low bridge, which enabled water to slowly run under it, joining one part of the swamp, or bog, as it was called locally, to the other part. On one side was a large expanse of water with stumps sticking out of it where trees once stood, before the mill and dam were built, forever changing the natural flow of the river. On the other side was the marsh, which was mostly cattails and swamp grass. At the far end of the bog, at the dam, farmers would bring in their crops to the mill to have them ground by the grinding wheel, which was turned by water running under the mill hitting a big paddle wheel. Where the water entered the mill from the bog, it swirled and kind of boiled and was really deep. That's where the fish were living. Once, while my mom and dad were visiting friends who lived near the mill for dinner, instead of sitting around bored while they talked and drank, I went down to the mill at sunset and caught some frogs, put them on my line, and nabbed 3 or 4 really big bass, which I proudly brought back to the party. Back in the car, though, when we got across the low bridge, it was obvious that we were on a road that was built on an old abandoned railroad line. It was straight, narrow, and all overgrown with trees. The surface was smooth for miles. We would cruise along on our old gravel road through a beautiful leafy tunnel of multicolors, the sun streaming down through them. When Daddy stopped the car, I would get out with him while he opened the trunk and let Skippy out. Then we would get back in the car and away we would go, with Skippy running behind. After a few miles, we would reach the Hog's Back, a road that took off into the hills. Cedar rail fences anchored every 50 feet or so with rock piles ran along on both sides of the Hog's Back, a more primitive and much rougher road. It went up and down hills, had big rocks on it, and had grass growing right out of the middle of it. We had to go real slow. Often Skippy would see a groundhog and take off after it, howling and barking. Daddy would stop and let him chase the groundhog for a while until Skippy eventually came back to the Monarch, with his tongue hanging out, covered with burrs and all manner of sticky things. Skippy never caught a groundhog, to my knowledge, although he had a great time trying. Then we would slowly crawl along the Hog's Back in the Monarch until we got to a little pond in a farmer's field where Skippy would drink and drink. Then Daddy would open up the huge trunk door, and Skippy would happily jump inside and curl up on the blanket Mummy had put there for him. We would make our way home and open the trunk, finding Skippy curled up on the rug, but instantly ready to jump out and go into the house, happily wagging his tail. A Monarch is actually a Canadian-made Mercury, the same as an American one, but with a different name. Ours was kind of light in color and was called a businessman's coupe. So named, I think, because it had that huge trunk for putting products in to make an instant sale. This was really a working man's car. No frills. I seem to remember ours had a small back seat, although some of them didn't. It was simple and comfortable, with cloth upholstery. My earliest recollection of the 1948 Monarch was at a place called Jackson's Point, where we lived on the lake for a while before the family moved to Omemee. I vividly recall it in our driveway in Omemee, but it was soon replaced with a four-door sedan.